Hello and welcome to the Online Trainers Podcast, where we go behind the scenes to uncover the latest tactics and strategies top trainers around the world are using to get more clients, dominate their marketplace, and get their clients amazing results. There is absolutely no fluff here. I'm your host, Lynn Trin. Hello and welcome to episode 214 on the Online Trainers Podcast. Today's topic is clients for life. So I want to talk about something that I know a lot of personal trainers particularly struggle with, and especially if you're inside of the online space, what can generally happen and what happened to me initially at the start was the whole process was wrong. Everything was kind of like a shamble. Everything was kind of breaking down, and I want to kind of run you through this to give you a bit of context. And this is kind of my journey along the way inside of the coaching space, and trying to figure out how to get clients better results, how to keep clients for life, how to build a tribe of raving fans. And I know that if you take on these few things and these few key pointers, and hopefully you can learn from my story, it will go a long way to help you improve your business, because you and I both know it's businesses fail due to cash flow issues, right? If you need to understand this, then so many businesses, so many personal trainers want to spend money on marketing, and they spend so much money on ads, but they don't keep the customers that go in. And so their profit margin's very, very low. So there's this saying called, what's the lifetime value of your client? What's the lifetime value of your customer? And generally, if you're keeping a client for 3 months or more, you then become profitable. If you're keeping them for 3 weeks, you're not profitable. And a big thing happened to me when I first started out inside of online coaching. And, I used to run these huge opportunity ads, or I used to run a lead magnet, and then I would cold call people, because essentially that's what I was taught. I didn't know any better when I started out. It's kind of like monkey see, monkey do, right? And that's what my business mentor told me to do. Is he told me, you need to be hustling on the phone. You need to be doing 20 calls a week, 20 calls a day. And you need to be hitting, six people, and then converting 6 into 2 sales. And then he'd throw all these numbers that would help me make, $500K a year. And I was like, I didn't know any better. At the time, I was like, yeah, all right, that sounds exciting. Let's do it. Let's hit the phone. I'd turn on, I don't think Wolf of Wall Street came out back then, but I'd turn on some other sales, motivational song and jingle to, and I'd get really amped up and I'd get happy, and a day would pass. And what would happen is I would talk to these prospects. The positioning was all wrong. And what would naturally happen is, on the other side of the phone, it almost felt like I was begging them to sign up. And I'd have this long conversation, go for 45 minutes. I try to dig into their pain. I try to dig into where they wanted to go. And, you ask those questions like, why? And when I look back, I kind of laugh, because, if you think about it, if you're talking to a stranger for a very, very first time, they're not going to tell you about their life stories. They've got a natural tendency to go, is he trying to sell me? There's all these objections inside of their mind, especially if you're talking to men. If you're talking to females, then they're going to have that ability to open up more, because they simply want to be heard, and they simply are more emotional human beings than males are. But anyways, hitting that brick road was so difficult, because by the end of it, I would just be hit up with price objections in terms of how much is it, and that would throw me off guard. And I'm like, well, it kind of just depends. I had no structure, I had no saying, I didn't even know, the format. And why I didn't know what I was doing was because I was reading off a script, and the script was really, really when I look back at it, it was really kind of salesy. I'd almost ask, how much are you spending on alcohol? How much are you spending on cigarettes? How much are you spending on fat food? And so this person would tell me, and I'm like, all right, well, you're spending like $150 a week. I can use that against you later. That's what the script was designed to do. The script was designed to get questions from them, things like, does your partner support you? So then when they give you the objection of, no, they don't support me, then you simply go, but you told me they did. So I almost like every single time felt so slimy doing that I didn't feel good about sales. And when you don't feel good about something, you don't do it. But anyway, I did it because I was in the pit. I had no income coming in, and I learned to get better and better and better at it. Now, with that said, the journey in itself was difficult, because these people didn't know who I was. I would sign up a client. They'd never seen any of my content before. I'd sign them up as a coach. They'd be onboarded. They'd be indoctrinated. And after 2 or 3 weeks, they would drop off. They'd be super excited. We have a great conversation. And this was taxing. Like, you have to imagine our sales call being like an hour long, trying to coach them through it, trying to get them to buy into the idea. And then when I started coaching them, I didn't have any systems. I didn't have any onboarding systems. I didn't know what to give them as a welcome package. I didn't know how to set them up correctly. All I knew how to do was get them set up on a training software I had back then called Recomposer, and get them set up and go, yep, right away, this is it. Here's your welcome email. Let's go. And what I started to realize was I wasn't keeping clients. And I started to go, well, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong. And, I started to blame them. But when I look back at it and I asked myself, well, did I do everything that I could to keep them? Chances were, no, I didn't, right? I didn't have any systems. I didn't have any onboarding process. I didn't have any content for them to consume. I didn't coach them and lead them. And that's a big, big thing. You need to be able to lead them. You need to be able to call them out on their crap. I didn't foster that flagship environment that I talk about, the trifecta, in terms of trying to build an environment based around all of the people that generally have the same pains, the same, desires. And I was bringing together a group of people that didn't want to stick together. I was doing all these things, and when I look back now, I can see exactly where the pitfalls were. And if you're a trainer listening to this and you're currently experiencing the same things, here's a few tips of advice on what you can do. Number one is make sure that you bring together people that have everything in common. That's how you're going to build the community. They're going to stay there for the community. They're going to stay there for your coaching. Number two, be able to get them to change their habits. We have something called the code here at the 1%. That's the name of our company. And the code is be impeccable with your word, be resourceful, okay, and dominate, like be the best that you can at everything that you do, okay? Those are the 3 things that we live by. And if you do that, then you're going to achieve a greater result. And so I didn't have these things along the way. And when we look at the coaching, the fulfillment side, so many trainers focus so much on marketing and selling, or some don't at all, but they forget to fulfill, and they forget then. And what can happen if you forget to fulfill is that after 3 or so, 4, 5, 6 weeks of coaching clients, they begin to drop off. And what happens is now you're in the rat race, you're in the hamster wheel. You always feel like you're swimming in deep waters, and basically you're in the blue ocean, and you've got these massive waves coming at you, and you're about to hit another trough inside of the business. And so one thing that I talk about heavily is being able to fulfill, and fulfillment starts off with systems, and fulfillment starts off with bringing together people who are a right fit. Fulfillment comes with you leading them. Fulfillment comes with you actually getting them and to buy into a code, a belief system. But also, this is really funny that I'll talk about on the next podcast. Fulfillment comes by your coaching ability and the ability for somebody to stay on. I talked about this in the previous podcast, but I had a few people email me and wanted to know more about it. We talk about this concept of dating versus getting married. If I'm going to call this person and they get married to me on their first date, they're a crazy person. Chances are they're in pain. They're very volatile. They're going to jump over to somebody else. They want a quick result. And if they don't see that, they're going to move and they're going to jump ship. And so we talk about this thing, there's a lot of stuff that you can do in the fulfillment system, but in the next podcast, I want to talk about what you do in the front end, inside of the marketing, inside of the sales, so that basically you create better clients. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. Our very best clients here that we get, guess what? They've worked with other business coaches. They've worked with other mentors. They've been screwed over. They haven't achieved the results. And guess what? They are my ideal client. If you've worked with another business mentor, they've promised you X, Y, and Z, and you haven't delivered, they haven't delivered, you haven't achieved the result. You are my best ideal client. Guess what? Because now you get it. You get what it's like. You're ready to put in the work. You're ready to shift those foundations. You're ready to make those moves, and you're not looking for the quick fix anymore. I've never preached the quick fix. What a lot of people will do to get you in, and this is knowing your ideal client, guys, is that they will They will offer you like, hey, I can make you $5,000 in 7 days, and they can get you in, and you get bought in by that shiny object. It's the same trainer that advertises, hey, I can help you lose, I can help you get a six pack in 2 weeks, right? You know that's not going to work. But if you understand that if you allow them to go to your competitors, work with your competitors, be dissatisfied with it, you can now play on the idea that, hey, you went to this guy and this is your result. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret as well on this. If you can tell somebody's story better than they can themselves, if you can pinpoint, if you can paint that picture, then you become the number one most trusted advisor inside of their mind. All right, so there was a lot covered inside this podcast. We talked about fulfillment, but if you're listening to this, and right now we've brought it up today. I'm just checking stats. We're getting consistently over 1,200 downloads a day, which is fantastic. I'm super honored that you're listening. But if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, hit me up on the Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/Coach Lintrin, LINHTRINH. Hit me up with a message and go, I want to know more about X. I want to know more about Y. I'm currently having issues with maybe marketing or coaching or fulfillment. I see this one thing that nobody seems to talk about, and it's just, drop-off rates. Everybody inside of it must be ego with personal trainers. I know I used to have it. Someone said, hey, do you get your clients' results? I'm like, of course I do. Like, that's the first thing. But in actual fact, I'd have clients leave after 3-4 weeks. And the biggest thing is, if you have a bucket with a hole in it, you're not going to be able to grow a business. So making sure that you keep that client retention, that's so foundational. And because it's taken me so long to figure this out, I know that so many trainers starting inside of the online space, they haven't got it figured out, then you're in for a long haul. So there's one thing I need you to do. You want to find out more information, head over to facebook.com/Coach Lindgren. Ask me a question, and I'll have some resources, I'll have some guides, and we'll be able to help you out from there. And that being said, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next podcast episode. Alright, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a 5-star review on iTunes, and feel free to leave a review, and that way I can respond and I can take that on board in developing content to serve you. Now, if you're not a part of the Online Trainers Club on Facebook, please do yourself a favor and be a part of the conversation. That's where I add daily tips, tricks, and strategies on how you can build out funnels, how you can get more clients, and ultimately become a better online coach. Thank you for listening.